23-year-old John Grody for crashing her VW Jetta. Audrey says John had been drinking and lost his cool.
All rise.
That's case number 130 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Grody. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Smith, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and Mr. Grody were dating. You went to a Christmas party with him using your car. He drove home from the Christmas party. There was an accident, and he totaled your car. You were a passenger in the car. You want $5,000 so that you can buy a new car, and Mr. Grody says that it was, in fact, an accident. There was snow and ice on the road, and you should have had better insurance if the car was so valuable. That's your defense, right? Okay. Let's see. This Christmas party was on what date?
December 4th of 2004.
And how far from your home was the Christmas party?
Well, from my home, it was about an hour and a half. From where John lives, it was about 40 minutes.
And I see from your complaint that it was originally your intention to sleep over.
Yes.
And you had hotel reservations.
I do not know if there was hotel reservations. I did call to get a receipt for the hotel reservations. They said that...
You made arrangements to stay over.
I did not. John said that he was going to make all the arrangements.
Okay. And that was because...
It was his Christmas party.
And you were both going to be drinking.
Yes.
So that was a very wise thing, to make arrangements to stay over.
Okay, we didn't make arrangements before we got there. Our whole thing was actually that we were going home that night. When we got there was when everybody said, oh, we're all staying here, so do you want to stay? And originally she said she didn't want to stay.
And what about you?
We didn't have the money to stay.
Your Honor.
Just a second, he's talking. Go ahead.
So when we were there, and I said, all right, well then, I wanted to stay there. She said we didn't have the money to stay there, so the plan was to drive home after that.
Who didn't have the money?
Both of us. Either of us.
So you didn't have the money either?
Well, I offered to pay. I mean, I had a credit card on me. I could have paid, but then she said she didn't want me to. So the plan was to go home.
Mr. Grody, were you drinking?
Yes, I was.
Was she drinking?
Yeah, she was.
Then you find the money to stay over.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Now, what time did you leave the party?
I had to be around 12:30.
And what time had you arrived at the party?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I believe it was around 8 o'clock.
What kind of alcohol were you consuming that day, Miss Smith?
I had some wine with dinner, and then in the bar area, I was drinking Captain and Diet Coke.
And what were you drinking, Mr. Grody?
Corbel and Diet Coke.
Corbel and Diet Coke. Is that a mix?
It is for me.
What, really? I mean, do you mix those two together, or you drink the Coke as a chaser?
No, I mix them together.
You mix them together?
Yep. I'm a brandy boy, sorry.
I guess it ain't a mimosa. I guess it's a Melissa.
Melissa, that's cute. It's cute. I wouldn't record it anywhere, but it's cute. How many of these bizarre drinks did you have that evening?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. So you know that you were in no position to be driving home.
Before we left, I did stop drinking a while before we actually did leave.
How old are you, sir?
23.
How many hours into the drive home did you have this accident?
About 40 minutes. We were about a mile away from my house.
Is there a police report?
Yes, I have an accident report.
You're driving on a suspended license?
No.
Did you have a license?
Yes, I did.
It says that you were cited for driving too fast for the conditions, failure to notify police of an accident,
Correct.
and operating after a suspension.
Right. Actually, everything didn't go through. I actually paid the ticket that I had it suspended for before that, but it didn't go through in that township.
What was your license suspended for?
For not paying a ticket or not appearing in court for a speeding ticket.
Did you get a ticket for driving too fast for the conditions?
Yes, I did.
Okay. According to your complaint, Ms. Smith, he was angry that evening when you left.
Yes.
Is that right? Tell me about it.
Well, we were all just, socializing, and I went up to the bar to get a drink. And while I was waiting for my drink, a guy just randomly struck up a conversation with me. And we were just chatting while I was waiting. And apparently John here didn't like that. And he came up and he had made a remark to the individual that was talking to me. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but I could definitely, he was aggressive in his body language towards this guy. So I really didn't want to, push the issue. I just stayed where I was, thought that he would just, you know, have like 5 minutes of cool down time, and I would stay there. But then immediately he came back up to me, and he just said, "We're leaving now." And
what time was that?
I believe it was around 12:15.
Okay, and did you leave?
Yes.
And you let him drive?
Well, I didn't. Yes. Physically, I let him drive because I knew I could not physically stop him from driving. He had possession of my keys because I allowed him to drive us to the party. And so he was angry. I was very scared. He's much larger than I am.
Shouldn't have gotten into the car.
I understand. I shouldn't have gotten into the car.
So the car's just steel, replaceable.
Understandable. I was clearly not thinking about
the best
thing. Yes, and also, even if it hadn't been drinking, I believe due to the scare factor, I just didn't want him to, of course, damage my property that I worked very hard. And I know that's a very irrational thought. You know, my body is much more precious than a chunk of metal, like you said.
You're right. What happened on the way home?
He just kept saying that, why were you talking to this guy? This was my party. You're my girlfriend. Being very possessive, being very jealous.
And some of the booze talking, too.
Possibly, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I freaked out and I said, "John, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. It's dark. You know, we're on country roads and you've been drinking." But it was too late. And then the next thing I remember, he was saying, "Get out of the car now. Get out of the car now."
And later today.
Did you believe that the friendship would rekindle into a relationship?
No.
Mr. Marquez, don't insult my intelligence.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Audrey Smith says ex-boyfriend John Grody crashed her VW Jetta while driving drunk. Audrey also says John was irate when he got behind the wheel.
Keep going.
And so he was speeding because he was getting agitated. And I looked at the speedometer, and it was at 80 miles per hour. And I freaked out, and I said, "John, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. It's dark. You know, we're on country roads, and you've been drinking." But it was too late. Then next thing I remember was him saying, "Oh." And then I blacked out momentarily. And then the next thing I remember, he was saying, "Get out of the car now. Get out of the car now." And I was very disoriented. And so he pulled me out through the driver's side door. And
okay.
I was going 85 about 10 miles before we actually crashed. I slowed down before we actually went around that curve because I go around that curve every day. I know that it's a bad curve and there's accidents there all the time.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 99 Volkswagen Jetta.
The car was totaled?
Yes.
Did you tell her that you were going to get her another car?
We had a car at work. I'm auto mechanic.
That's not my question.
Yes, I told her that I was going to buy her the car that we had at work and fix it for her, and it was more than equivalent to what she had. She said she didn't want that car. And after that, I'm not obligated, I did not feel obligated to actually buy her a car. I thought it was just a nice gesture for me to do.
It's not a nice gesture, sir. You caused an accident.
Right.
Your lack of judgment, by virtue of the fact that you had been drinking all night, your lack of judgment and getting behind the wheel and being emotionally agitated with her that evening, which you clearly were. There's no question in my mind that that happened.
Right.
The police indicate that you were driving in excess of the speed limit. Your answer that you provided me says that you had this accident because of the road conditions, because it was icy, going in excess of the speed limits, which the police document.
It says too fast for conditions now.
That's absolutely right. Too fast for the conditions. Too fast for the conditions. Too fast for the hour of the evening. It was dark. Too fast for the fact that you had been drinking champagne and Coke a whole night. All of those things put together suggest to me that this was not an accident brought about by virtue of the fact that accidents sometimes happen. You were doing the wrong thing. And because you were doing the wrong thing, she doesn't have a car anymore.
Right.
So take care of that. You have the Blue Book value on your car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I did give her my car, by the way.
Shouldn't have it anymore, does she?
Yeah.
Yes, I do have, it was signed over to me, but I also have the NADA value of that.
Just a second. Hold it, my dear. You accepted the car from him and you registered it?
Not at first. At first, he gave it to me. He said, "You can borrow this car until I buy you the replacement for your totaled vehicle."
Okay.
I said, "Thank you." I told him, like, "Well, you know what? I'm going to take the car for now, and then I'm going to sue you for the rest."
Is that what she said to you?
Yep.
What kind of car did you give her?
95 Corsica Chevy.
Are you telling me that you signed the title over to her?
Correct.
And she said to you, I'm going to take this car, but I'm going to sue you for the rest of the money that I think you owe me, and you said, okay, I'm going to sign over the car anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world would you do that?
Because otherwise, if I took the car back from her, how would she get anywhere?
What do you care?
I don't want to be a jerk. I understand that she didn't have a car because of me, and I didn't want to be a jerk. I wanted her to be able to get around.
You've been driving this car since April?
I've actually been driving it since the accident happened. And the reason why I needed it transferred over into my name is because I found out that he did not carry insurance on it. And I was driving the car, and I need insurance, and in order to carry insurance, it has to be registered in my name. So that's why I had to do that. Otherwise, again, I would be left with no car.
Okay. Why don't you have her do this? Why don't you have her sign this title back over to him?
Signature of the seller, I guess.
Okay. Can I borrow your pen? Thank you.
Good. Now he's got his car back. Go pick it up.
Okay.
It's yours. And now you'll pay her $5,000 so she can go out and buy a car. Just for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000.
Thank you, Judge.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought it was, I guess, fair.
Of course I'm happy. I won. You know, yay.
I was just upset that she wasn't with the party.
He just kept saying, you know, this is my party, you're my guest, and you should be by my side the entire night.
That's pretty much all it was about.
Really have no, beef with him other than this.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Marquez versus Welfare, step forward, please.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
How old are you, Mr. Marquez?
I'm 23. I'll be 24 in a couple days.
Before you moved in with Miss Welfare and her two children, where were you living?
I was living with my parents.
And when did you move in with Miss Welfare?
I moved in with her in mid-October of 2003.
And how long did you live there?
I lived there until the beginning of April.
And where were you working during that time?
The whole time I was working at Denny's restaurant.
Part-time?
Part-time, yes. I also coached football at the local elementary school.
What was your financial arrangement when you were living with Miss Welfare?
We paid half. I paid $300, she paid $300.
For rent?
For rent, correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
What about the rest of the expenses?
We usually split those down the middle as well.
And what were you doing, Miss Welfare?
I also had two jobs. I was working at two separate restaurants.
Okay. This is what the complaint is about. The complaint says that while you were living there, you purchased a washer and dryer. When you moved out in April of 2004, you told Miss Welfare that she could keep them for a while because you had no place to take them because you were moving back with your parents. A year later, you finally get your own place. You let her know you want your washer and dryer back, and she says, forget it.
Actually, I did have a place to put them. I have a receipt for my storage space, which I purchased in April 17th of 2004 as well, which was actually 5 days after I moved everything out of the apartment.
All right, so you didn't want to put it in your storage space because...
Well, she has two children, and we've been to the laundromat together, and it takes quite a long time to do laundry. And since my parents already had a washer and dryer, I had no need for them at that time. And I had just purchased them in March of that year, which had only been about a month. So I figured I might as well get some use out of them by leaving them at her apartment.
That's somewhat correct, but not completely correct.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
Well, let me hear what your version of the events were.
When he bought those for me, it was an early Mother's Day gift. I was the one doing all the laundry. He never even did his own laundry. I was doing my laundry, his laundry, and both of my children's laundry. And between the two jobs and being at the laundromat all the time, it was a lot of time away, and so we had been discussing, him buying a washer and dryer for me, and he was looking online and said, hey, come and pick the one you want. And so I picked the one I want. He gave them to me. When he moved out, I was sleeping when he moved out. Our relationship had gotten kind of rocky. There was never any discussion about me giving them back, ever.
When, for the first time, did you contact her with regard to retrieving these two items?
Your Honor, as she said, I moved out at the very beginning of April of 2004. We didn't talk for 2 weeks afterwards. After that, we, began phone conversations, and actually on May 5th of 2004, she came over to my house, my parents' house, for a little Cinco de Mayo get-together. In May of 2004, I gave Miss Welfare $100 because she was having a rough time making it on her own in the apartment, and I have here a check for utilities / other stuff I gave to Miss Welfare for $100 to help her out.
Could you answer my question?
Sure.
You remember what my question was?
Yes, I do. Have we ever talked about it? About the washer and dryer?
When for the first time did you ask for it back?
I first asked for it back when I found out I was moving out with my current girlfriend, which was in March of 2005.
Okay, so between April of 2004 and March 2005, you had absolutely no discussion with her about this washer and dryer.
That isn't correct. When I gave her that check, which was dated May 20th of 2004, we had discussed it. She actually wanted to purchase the washer and dryer fully. She wanted to give me payments per month. And I told her that since we were becoming good friends, I did not want the only conversation to be between us about the washer and dryer.
At that time, Mr. Marquez, did you believe that the friendship would rekindle into a relationship?
No. Actually, when we first broke up,
Mr. Marquez, don't insult my intelligence.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You don't go from being lovers to friends without somebody hoping for a little bit more.
That is correct. Yes.
So during that time, and during the time, according to you, she said, why don't you let me make payments on it? You said, no.
Correct.
And now you have a new girlfriend.
Yes, I do.
You moving into an apartment together?
We have currently moved into an apartment as of the 9th of April.
And I assume it doesn't have a washer and dryer.
Actually, it does. After this little skirmish between me and my ex-girlfriend, my current girlfriend went out and purchased one, hoping it would make me feel a little bit better.
Did it?
I was very, very pleased that she would show that much friendship towards me. But I wasn't very angry about the washer and dryer. I was angry at the fact that she took me for granted that I was being nice and letting her borrow the washer and dryer when I could have just put them in my storage.
Get over it. There is something that doesn't ring true, sir, about your story that you told her more than a year ago, that I'm letting you use this piece of equipment that breaks down, that once it's used, it becomes less functional. I'm going to let you use that for as long as it takes. And it just so happens that the time that you want it back is when you're moving in with a new girlfriend. By the way, whose washer and dryer is the new one that was purchased?
It is hers.
I just want her to hear that.
Yes, I've told her that many times.
Very good. And you know whose this is?
Yes.
Hers. Thank you. That's all. Have a happy life.
Body's ice.
2-year-old customer service rep Kimberly Johnson and her ex-boyfriend, Arthur Spain Jr., are suing Arthur's ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old restaurant manager Tequila Bailey, for vandalism to a Pontiac Grand Am and for the return of belongings. Tequila is countersuing for unpaid rent and harassment.
Now, this is case number 7 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson Spain Jr. versus Bailey. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Johnson, you and Mr. Spain live together and have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are no longer a couple.
Yes, ma'am. No,
Despite the fact that you both appear today as plaintiffs. My understanding of this rather complex case is that when you and Mr. Spain separated, Mr. Spain began a relationship with the defendant, Miss Bailey. And he, in fact, moved in with her. According to you, you tried to maintain a civil relationship with both of them, with Mr. Spain for the benefit of the children, and for Miss Bailey just because. But Miss Bailey was not happy with you for some reason, and it is your claim that she vandalized your car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are suing her as a co-plaintiff with Mr. Spain, who says that Miss Bailey kept some of his personal property when he moved out of the house because they are no longer together. Miss Bailey says that she did nothing to your car. It's actually you who harassed her, you and Mr. Spain. That it was Mr. Spain who damaged your car.
Correct.
And that you slashed her tires, you caused her to lose her job, and she wants from you, Mr. Spain, rent for the time that you were living with her. She has a counterclaim. All right, let's try to put some dates to these facts. Mr. Spain, when did you and Miss Johnson live together?
About 2000 and...
Maybe I'll ask Miss Johnson.
We moved in, it was about July 2003.
And how old are your children?
My son is 2 and my daughter is 4.
And when did Mr. Spain move out?
He moved out November 23rd, 2004.
Why?
Because of our differences. It wasn't working out.
When did you move in with Miss Bailey?
About the 26th.
Of what?
Of November.
You knew her from before?
Yes.
From where?
School.
How come you moved in with Miss Bailey?
Because she had asked me to move in with her.
I mean, did you rent a room from her, or were you living together as a couple?
Living together as a couple.
So that while you were with Miss Johnson, you were also with Miss Bailey?
No. She
I mean, it's a short 3 days, sir, you were in somebody else's house.
She had called me on the phone talking to her.
Yeah. When I came home from work, he was on the phone talking to her.
On the 23rd of November?
Yes, ma'am.
So then he moved out and he was living with Miss Bailey. How long did you stay with Miss Bailey, Mr. Spain?
About a month and a half.
Is that right, Miss Bailey?
He moved in November 23rd. He was arrested January the 4th, so that's the last time he lived with me when he got out of jail.
What were you arrested for?
Home invasion.
Burglary?
Nah.
What?
No,
he kicked in the door.
Kicked in her door.
Yeah, he kicked in my door.
You kicked in her door?
Where his kids lay at his at night.
Shh. What'd you kick in her door for?
Just jealous, and I was really upset what was going on when I was living with her.
Well, so you were annoyed with Miss Bailey, so you kicked in Miss Johnson's door?
Yes.
It's very logical. Getting too old for this job. All right, Miss Johnson, tell me about the vandalism of your car. When did that happen?
December the 16th.
And you were still living with Miss Bailey, is that right, Mr. Spain?
Yes.
In between the time that they were together, it's been harassing phone calls. I mean, he would call, he would get me upset, he would get me upset, just arguing over our relationship, whatever. Then she would call, and she would play on the phone, repeatedly call, left threatening messages on my voicemail, and I just got, I mean, of course I've defended myself in the argument too, but I guess she got real upset to the point where she wants to come over to my house, and she'd scratch the car.
Well, I want to know, were you home when she scratched the car?
Yeah, I was home, but I was asleep. It happened overnight.
So you didn't see her scratch the car?
No, I didn't see her scratch the car, but I do have a witness with me.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear that witness. Tell me your name, please.
Monica Dykes.
Dykes, did you see on December 16th somebody vandalized Miss Johnson's car?
No, I wasn't with her at the time, but I was at her house. I was spending the night at her house, and she was supposed to go get me something to eat. And
Who was?
Mrs. Bailey. She didn't come back with my food, and I asked her why, and she said because she came in the house with a box cutter, and she said that she had scratched Miss Johnson's car.
Well, how do you know Miss Bailey?
They were going together. This is my brother.
When she came home, she just took out the box cutter and told you? What did she do?
No, she had the box cutter in her hand.
Walked in the door with the box cutter in her hand?
It was in her pocket, and she took it out.
Well, tell me about that. I'm curious about that whole moment when she walked into the house with the box cutter in her pocket.
When she walked into the house, I was like, well, what happened to the Burger King that you're supposed to bring back? She said, well, Burger King was closed, and I just came back from around Mrs. Johnson's house, and I scratched the car up, and I hope she come around here with some...
She's lying.
So what did you say to her?
Nothing. I didn't say anything after that.
She's lying.
You didn't say, why would you do that?
Well, I asked her why. She said, because she's just been harassing me and all this other stuff.
Did she tell you what she'd been doing to harass you?
She said that Miss Johnson has been calling her house numerous of times.
So they were speed dialing each other.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Miss Bailey, now I'll hear from you.
Thank you so much. First of all, he moved in my home November 23rd of 2004. He moved out because he went to jail for kicking in her door. I was pregnant at the time with his kid. So when he got out of jail, I no longer wanted him in my home anymore. So while the process he's been in jail, me and Christina Stovall right here took all of his belongings. We took.
I'm not at his claim yet, Miss Bailey.
Oh, okay, well, where are we at?
I'm keying her car.
Oh, keying her car, and he keyed her car, and the night that he got arrested, he came over to my house bragging about keying her car in as well as kicking her door in. Why would I key her car? He kicked the key. I mean, he keyed the car in and kicked the door, and he know he did.
I was there.
If he's gonna kick her door in, he's gonna key her car.
He's lying.
Whatever, you lying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If somebody moves in with you in December and you get pregnant between December and January 4th, you're not too swift.
And later today.
Where is the car now?
The car is in front of my house now.
You have not sought to have the car returned to you, have you?
No.
Smart lady.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Johnson and Arthur Spain Jr. claim Arthur's ex-girlfriend, Tequila Bailey, keyed Kimberly's Pontiac Grand Am. Arthur also says Tequila won't return his belongings.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see. Step up. Tell me your name.
Christina Stovall.
You said that you were present when Mr. Spain acknowledged that he vandalized Miss Johnson's car?
Yes.
When was that?
January 4th.
Tell me about what he said.
Me and Tequila and her two sisters were in the living room. He came in through the door. He was sweating, walking around. You could tell he had did something. This is what he said. He said, I keyed in her car, I kicked in her door, and the police is coming. So Tequila said, let's go upstairs and talk about it.
Yeah, but the police report...
He did it at
He did it what?
He did it at 2 different times. When he keyed in her car a couple days before he kicked in her door. But he came in bragging about both of it.
Yeah.
No. No.
Yeah. He keyed her car. I don't know what he keyed the car in, but the night he got arrested...
Listen to me very carefully. Where did you spend Christmas?
At my house.
Did you see Miss Bailey?
I see her every day, all the time.
And what about Mr. Spain? Did you see him?
Yeah, I see him.
Shut up!
I used to go to school with him. I used to go to the candy store. He knows who I am.
Okay. So you know them both, and you saw them between December 16th and January 4th. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you're telling me is on January 4th, he acknowledged keying her car.
Because he came in all nervous.
All right. But the police report is from December 16th. Why in the world would he come in all nervous and hyper and confess to something that he had done on December 16th?
He already confessed to me a long time ago about it.
Because he was scared.
He was bragging.
Sit down.
Okay.
Good. Very good. No, I believe that he kicked in her door, but on December 16th, I believe her when she says that you went out to get her some Burger King and you came back and you keyed her car.
Nah.
Yeah, no. Nah. Okay, now, what stuff do you claim that you left at Miss Bailey's home?
Radio, TVs, CDs, DVDs, weights.
Where's all his stuff?
We took 2 trips to her mom and his mom's house, and he knows and she knows. As a matter of fact, I had Matt come get the guns that was in my house. They don't have any permits for.
What kind of guns?
Sawed-offs.
BB guns.
Sawed-offs.
Who is this gentleman?
That's my friend.
What does he have to do with this case?
His weights are in her house.
He helped haul
her
belongings
stuff
over
there
to her house.
And we hauled it right back. And I don't know if your father did with him, but we hauled it right back.
A few baskets over to his house. This is when he was locked up.
TV returned?
No. And she brought me my shoes, and she brought my shoes, a box full of my shoes, and my mocha control was in the box.
What kind of television did he bring to your house? Look at me directly. Don't look at the floor.
I'm looking at you. I don't know exactly what kind of television was. It was a little black box television.
Where is it?
At his mom's house. Me and her took 2 trips to Hallville, Indiana, to give him their stuff. But he got locked up from my house. I got a letter in my mail from my landlord saying that if they find him or anything of his in my house again, I will be in court for eviction because he was not on my lease. So I quickly took all his stuff to his mother's house. All his stuff. He knows it.
She is lying.
Now, Miss Bailey, what I want you to do is I want you to tell me about your counterclaim. You think that Mr. Spain should pay you for rent?
Yes.
What kind of contract did you have with him for your
We didn't
rent?
have anything written down, signed, because when you're supposed to be having a relationship, you don't do that. But we have verbal. You're going to pay half on everything. You're not going to stay in my house and lay up and sleep, and not pay nothing on anything.
Miss Bailey.
Yes, ma'am.
We live in a civilized society. So I want you to leave your gutter language outside.
I can do that. That's fine.
And you're going to wait until I'm finished speaking before you open your mouth.
Okay.
You're going to leave your gutter language outside, and you're going to remember where you are. We understand each other?
We do.
Perfect.
Kimberly Johnson and Arthur Spain Jr. claim Arthur's ex-girlfriend, Tequila Bailey, keyed Kimberly's Pontiac Grand Am. Arthur also says Tequila won't return his belongings.
I believe that after he moved out, you wanted money, but I don't believe you had an agreement with him to pay you half of everything.
Next. Somebody can't stay with me.
Listen to me. Next.
First of all, my tires were slashed. I couldn't get to work. I had to call in to get my car fixed. Second of all, they're playing my phone. He's coming to my job, my new job and my old job, harassing on me on my job.
Well, just a second. What did he say when he came to your job?
I broke up with him. He wants to be with me. He loves me. He wants to be a family. Let's make it work. I don't want to be with you. I want to be a family. Go raise your 2 kids with Kimberly.
Just a second. I don't understand you.
What do you mean?
You're talking too fast.
I talk fast all the time. I know. He wants to be with me.
So he came to you telling you that he wanted to be with you, he wanted to be a family.
Making a scene. Yeah, making a scene at work. He wanted to be with me.
And that's why you got fired.
That, and I had to call in because I was pregnant with his child, and while he was in jail. I couldn't work. I was sick.
I mean, you think that he's responsible for you?
Yeah, he helped me make the baby. Yeah.
What?
He helped make the baby. Yeah, he's responsible.
That's not a lawsuit.
It is mine.
It's not one that I'm going to hear.
Well, that's fine, Miss Judge Judy.
It's not one that I'm going to hear. How many children do you have?
I have 1.
Okay. So you know how babies are made, right?
I do.
If you don't want to have the baby, then what you do is you take precautions so that you don't have a baby. If somebody moves in with you in December and you get pregnant between December and January 4th, you're not too swift.
Right.
Can I see pictures of your car?
Yes. Yeah, Your Honor, she scratched the whole driver's side, and she also...
Can I just see the pictures of the car?
My boyfriend.
Okay. Did you have these scratches taken care of?
No, ma'am.
You have an estimate on how much it's going to cost?
Yes,
to have
ma'am,
the
I do.
Scratches taken care of? That's a reasonable estimate. Listen, there is no question in my mind that the two of you women behaved badly towards each other, right?
Right.
I think Mr. Spain behaved badly, too. Listen, Miss Bailey, don't get in between people. It's always a very bad idea. If someone has a fight with his wife, woman, girlfriend, whatever it is, and if you take him in the day that he had a fight, and then if you make a baby with him, that makes you a smart woman who's not acting too smart, or a stupid woman who's not acting too smart. I don't know which one you are.
I was stupid.
But whoever you are, you owe us $600 to have a car painted. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I ain't even mad, though. That's the whole thing. I ain't even mad. I'm cool. I'm cool.
She's a liar. She's crazy. She needs some mental health.
I don't need anything from any one of them. And I'm still strong, sitting on my own 2 feet.
That's the devil right there.
Thing is, I got fists. Come on, bring it, because I'm ready. Straight up, I'm ready.
The girl's crazy, and you seen it in there. She crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ford versus Tarrant. Step forward, please.
Barber Glenn Ford is suing his former lover, office technician Elizabeth Tarrant, for the balance on a 1988 Toyota Celica he bought for her daughter.
Mr. Ford, it is your claim that Miss Tarrant, with whom you were briefly involved, owes you money for a car that you purchased for her daughter and for impound fees later when the car was impounded because her daughter didn't have a driver's license. Ms. Tarrant indicates that both of those things were gifts and you did not seek any money until after she decided she no longer wanted to be involved in a committed relationship with you. Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
Fine. Where is the car now?
The car is in front of my house now.
You have not sought to have the car returned to you, have you?
No.
Smart lady. Mr. Ford, can you explain to me why This is a relatively new purchase. According to your complaint, the car was purchased for her daughter sometime in February, correct?
In March.
So it was driven by her for a relatively short period of time. Why don't you just sell it?
The reason why I don't want to sell it, because I'm really not in this business of selling car. I had purchased the car for Elizabeth because she needed a car for her daughter. And it was an understanding, a mutual understanding between us two, and a contract that we had, which she didn't sign.
Well, then I'm not interested in it, sir. My question to you is a very practical one. This is a relationship that clearly was not going anywhere. The only nexus tie that you had to each other was this car. You got the car back, and I understand that you're not in the car business, but I don't know what your losses are.
Well, the car was impound, and she had agreed to pay me for the impound fees. I had to get the car out of impound, and the only way that I was able to get the car out of impound was that her daughter had to have a driver's license, so they could release the car to me from out of impound. I took her daughter to get a driver's license, and she had a driver's license, and I went to pick up the car from the impound. I incurred losses there. Now, she agreed that she would pay for these losses that I had incurred.
You mean for the impound fees?
For the impound, yes.
That's not unreasonable. What do you do for a living, Mr. Ford?
I'm a barber.
Is it your own business?
Yes, it is.
Then you're a businessman, Mr. Ford, and you appear to be an intelligent person. Right? You may not know a lot about cars. I don't know a lot about cars either. But I know that if I had a piece of property in my possession, in this case a car, and I had the title to it, which you do at this point, because she signed it over to you, before I would bring her to court, I would put an ad in the paper, a sign in the window, and I would say, I'm going to sell this car and see what I get for it. And then you won't be out any money, unless you just wanted to bust her chops. So, Mr. Ford, before you come to court, go sell the car and see if you come up with a shortfall on the money you laid out. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
21-year-old student Jotham Schiller for purposely ramming the back of his car. Justin claims it was retribution from a prior incident.
All rise. Now, this is case number 79 on the calendar in the matter of Sherman versus Schiller. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Mr. Sherman, you and Mr. Schiller used to be friends, according to the complaint that I read. It is your claim that after an evening of drinking, Mr. Schiller purposely damaged your car.
Yes.
Mr. Schiller says that he did not damage your car, and in any event, you don't take responsibility for things that you do because a month or so previous to this incident, you got drunk and got sick on his carpeting and didn't take responsibility for that. So that's what happens when you get drunk. That's your defense.
That's basically correct, yes.
All right. Let's get to my favorite part of this. Let's get to the drinking part. What date did this incident allegedly happen, Mr. Sherman?
March 25th, 2005.
What time?
About 1 o'clock in the morning.
What day of the week was the 25th of March?
I believe it was a Saturday.
So, nobody had school or work. Do you
No.
work or go to school?
I go to college, and I also
Where?
work Longview Community College.
Okay. Where did you start your drinking, Mr. Sherman, on Saturday night?
Went to a party, I believe it was a high school party in a rural area. I didn't know the person's house. I was taken there with my witness, Sean.
How many people were there?
I'd say about 50, 55.
Oh, good. I love this part. There were 50 or 55 high school kids?
Yeah, give or take.
A lot of drinking?
A lot of drinking.
Was it a nice house?
Not really.
Not when they got finished with it. The parents home?
No.
You know, I think when you have teenage children, you should just make a pact. You don't go away.
That's right.
You just don't go away.
Take them with you or lock them up.
Right. They should have sort of a kennel for them. So that the parents can go away. So these 50 teenagers are drinking in a house. Some other guys, older college men like you show up, more responsible, and you're drinking. Now, is everybody bringing their own booze, or was it... What did you bring?
I didn't bring anything. I wasn't drinking, Your Honor.
Not at all?
No.
Who was driving?
I was.
What were you drinking? Is not an answer.
I was
but
drinking.
Standing up is good.
I was drinking Miller Lite.
How many did you bring?
12-pack.
12? Just for you?
Yeah.
And the two of you went together?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know the people whose party it was?
I just got calls from friends, and
sort of out of the loop. You know, teenage kids have passed me by a long time ago. When you get the call, what does the call usually say?
There's a party, and come over, and blah, 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 and then you get directions, and just go.
Now you can sit down, Sean, until I need you again. Okay, so what happened at the party, Mr. Sherman?
Well, I went to the party, started talking with some friends, gazed over and saw Mr. Schiller here. He was with his best friends, and they were making faces at me, laughing and towards my direction, and I just got real embarrassed and really just distraught about the whole thing. And then they started making puking motions at me.
Had you gotten sick on Mr. Schiller's carpet the month
Yes.
before?
Yeah, I did.
And did you make arrangements to have the carpet cleaned up?
He refused my help. He said, no, I've had enough with you. He just told me to get out of his house.
Okay. Did he subsequently call you and ask you to pay to have the carpet cleaned?
Not till a week later.
A week later. I said subsequently. Subsequently can be a week.
Okay.
So he called you a week later, and what did you say to him?
I said, no, I'm not going to pay for that.
Okay. Let's cut to the party's over, and you got to the party at what time?
9:30ish.
9:30, and you left about 12:30, 1:45?
Yeah.
Good. And all that time you didn't have a beer?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Almost doesn't pay to go to the party.
Oh, you have a good time there. Socialize. I don't think you have to drink to have a good time.
Any drug? Yeah, well.
No. No drugs.
No drugs?
No drugs, Your Honor.
Any drugs?
No.
Just drinking?
Just drinking.
How much did he drink?
About case.
Okay, so now it's 12:30, 1:45. And you leave?
Yeah, I decided to leave. I was
So,
tired of it.
Now, pick it up from there, Mr. Sherman.
Mr. Schiller and his friends were extremely drunk. I walked out to my car, and they ran in front of me and started pushing my car into a ditch. At that point, I got in the car, told Sean to get in the car, and started the ignition and headed out. They continued to follow me in their Chevy Blazer. Started yelling out the window and flashing their lights, honking their horn, tapping me on the
You
road.
mean acting stupid?
Yeah,
Okay,
acting
so they're
stupid.
acting stupid. What's next?
After that, I got to my house, stepped up on the front porch. They rolled up right behind me, honking the horn, telling me that they want to kick my... And I told them to leave, and they revved their engine and slammed into the back of my car, Your Honor, and then drove off. At that point, I was in shock and called the police. I have the police report right
Can
here.
I see it, please?
Yes.
Have a photograph of the damage?
Yes. I also have an estimate.
I'd like to see that, too. Now I'll hear you, sir.
About a month before this incident occurred,
I know months before you,
Yeah.
you got sick and he ruined your carpet.
ruined
and
the carpet, damage.
You wanted him to pay
well,
for
not
it.
only that, though, he tried to fight me in my own house.
He got drunk.
He got drunk.
He has a drinking
He
problem.
cost me, yeah. Well,
He has
he
a
blacked
drinking
out, and I
problem.
let him pass out on the ground.
Listen to me, Mr. Schiller. He has a drinking problem.
He's an alcoholic.
I don't have a drinking problem. He has a drinking problem.
He has
Mr. Sherman, I want you to trust me on this one. I have a nose. You shouldn't drink. Keep going.
Well, we were outside. He basically invited us over to try to fight him. He
How
wanted
did
to fight.
he do that?
What, screaming down the road. Sean actually was yelling out the window, "Come over and fight us."
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's... Listen, Mr. Sherman. See, that's what happens when you have a drinking problem. You can't control yourself. Mr. Sherman, do you understand?
Yes.
Understand how quiet he was when you were testifying? Didn't interfere. When you have a drinking problem, even if you haven't been drinking, you lose control of the ability to have control of yourself. Like right now. Mr. Sherman, if I can tell that you, as a 19-year-old kid, drinks too much, by the time you're 30, it's going to be over.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I just wanted to get this settled, maybe talk out with him, but...
And you thought, Mr. Schiller, the appropriate time to talk to Mr. Sherman was when he had had a case of beer.
Well, that's the only time to talk to him.
Mr. Schiller, don't play with me, sir.
And later today,
She told me that whenever her son Kenneth was moving up to Kansas City and that his father had a lot of money and they were going to get full custody and make me out to be an unfit mother.
I never said that. Just a second.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Justin Sherman says acquaintance Jothan Schiller rammed his car in a drunken rage. Jothan claims it's Justin who is the troublemaker.
All right. So now you are at Mr. Sherman's house because this idiot over here challenged you to a duel.
Yes.
And you were sufficiently sophisticated, in control of yourself to say, I'm not going to get started with this. I'm going to go home. Whoops. No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to go over and fight them. Right? Now, you go over there, you honk your horn, and they don't come?
No, they ran inside as soon as we got there.
Right, and you honk your horn.
Yes, I honked.
And they didn't want to come out to fight you?
No, they did not want to. When they had offered first. I mean, I didn't want to fight them. I just wanted to get this settled, maybe talk out with them, but...
And you thought, Mr. Schiller, the appropriate time to talk to Mr. Sherman was when he had a case of beer?
Yes. That's the only time to talk to him.
No. You thought that the appropriate time to talk to him when he would be in
whenever
control
you see
of
him,
his senses.
he's usually been drinking.
Mr. Schiller, don't play with me, sir.
Well,
all right. And it's your statement that after you honked your horn and they refused to come out, you drove away and you did not back into the car.
I was parked in the driveway, so it might have appeared that I was close, but maybe his prior damage.
So that's your statement. Very good. What year is your car, sir?
A 91 Buick LeSabre.
Okay.
It holds sentimental value, Your Honor.
What?
It was my great-grandfather's. That's why I want it fixed. It holds sentimental value.
I don't get sentimental over a car, sir. You know, maybe a vintage Rolls Royce. But I got to tell you something. You should have it fixed. You're not going to have it fixed for $2,000. You find a ding doctor who can fix it maybe for $500. But I'm going to tell you both. If you continue to drink and act stupid, that's what happens. You ruin carpet. He hits your car. You're just lucky you didn't kill somebody else that evening because you had all been drinking. I have very little sympathy for either one of you. Anyway, you're suing him for $2,000 because that's the estimate that you had. The whole car's not worth $2,000. Get somebody to fix it for $500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just completely outraged. I didn't cause any damage to his car. He's just, like she said, a drinking problem, so that's just the person that we're dealing with.
I don't have a drinking problem. I never did, never will. He's the one with the drinking problem. That's why he hit me.
Alcoholism runs in his family, so he just doesn't have, he also doesn't have regard for society.
I never wanted to start a fight. I just wanted him to go away. That's what I was saying.
He drives home after parties and gets in car accidents. It's just kind of ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Seco, step forward, please.
Lola Davis is suing her granddaughter's mother, 21-year-old Michelle Seco, for attorney fees as a result of a restraining order. Michelle says she was fearful of Lola kidnapping her daughter.
Miss Davis, Miss Seco is the mother of your granddaughter.
Yes.
She was not married to your son, but they do have a child together, and that child is how old?
3.5.
Where is your son now?
He's incarcerated.
For what?
Violation of a probation.
For what?
DWI.
So he has a drinking problem?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that Miss Seco filed a false application for a protective order against you and your husband.
Yes.
As a result of which you had to retain an attorney and you want her to pay for your legal fees.
Yes, I do.
Miss Seco says that the allegations in her application were true, and it's unfortunate because you used to see your granddaughter regularly but don't anymore.
Right.
So, Miss Seco, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
When did you file this application for a protective order?
On January 11th.
Under what circumstances?
Because of the harassing phone call that I had got from him saying that Christina's father was going to kidnap her and take her up to Kansas City because he was going to work on the railroad with his dad. And I asked him about it, and he didn't know anything about it, but he was moving up there, and he was thinking of giving me sole custody to get his life straight. And I told them that, they called the cops on me, and I told them that they were no longer going to see her because, if Kenneth's not there...
What do you mean they called the cops on you? For what?
For checking on the well-being. They called the cops several times on me and family services, and I have the reports here if you'd like to see them.
I would. And I'd also like to see the application that you filed for the protective order.
Okay.
So you filed a petition in which you allege as follows.
Mm-hmm.
She is constantly harassing me if I don't let her see her granddaughter. She makes me out to be an unfit mother. She's several times called Division of Family and Children's Services and called the cops on me.
Yes.
When I would go to pick up my child, We would get into arguments, and she would yell at me and threaten to take my child away. She's constantly harassing me about my 3-year-old daughter, which I fear she might kidnap and flee the state.
Yes.
Well, what did she say about kidnapping your child, or are these fears that you have that were born out of the fact that she said, if you don't let me see her, something will happen?
She told me that whenever her son Kenneth was moving up to Kansas City and that his father had a lot of money and they were going to get full custody and make me out to be an unfit mother.
I never said that.
Just a second. So?
And I asked Kenneth about it, and he said that was not true. He was going to move and stay up there and get his life on track because he had his previous history, and he was going to give me sole custody.
Lola Davis says the mother of her granddaughter, Nichelle Seco, took out a false restraining order against her.
How many grandchildren do you have, Ms. Davis?
I have 13 total.
Unfortunately, you can't sue the person who granted her a temporary restraining order. You were granted a temporary restraining
Yes.
order, then you had a trial?
Yes.
And at the trial, the case was dismissed?
Yes.
Well, should never have been a temporary restraining order based upon these allegations. There is not one allegation here that is sufficient, in my judgment, for a court to have granted her a temporary restraining order.
Judge Judy?
Yes.
When she filed the ex parte orders on us, we had retained the attorneys to appear for us on our behalf, and by the time we did get to court, the whole case was dismissed. And I have a copy of the court transcript.
I don't have to read the transcript. I've been in the business a long time. When you file for a protective order, one of the things that you're stating is, based upon a fact, you are in fear for your safety or the safety of your child. Fact. She doesn't state any facts here. What she says is, I fear she might hire a hitman to kill me. Well, maybe she's crazy. Maybe that's why she has a fear. Maybe she's nuts. But I fear that she might kidnap my daughter. Well, that's not what she said, according to you, Ms. Seco. According to you, what she said is, my husband is moving, and according to you, she said, and they have a lot of money. Parents have a lot of money, the relatives have a lot of money, and they're going to sue and try to get sole custody of the child. Whether that's true or not, that's legal. Mm-hmm. So there is nothing in your petition that should have inspired a judge to grant a temporary restraining order. So you're suing the wrong person, because she's not a lawyer. She didn't pull the wool over anybody's eyes. She made statements like she was, free thinking, and somebody who wasn't using their noodle granted her a protective order, temporary, and by the time it got down to push comes to shove, they thought better of it and either dismissed it,
yes,
or she didn't show up and they dismissed it because she wasn't there. Or was there a hearing?
Yes, there was.
There's a hearing, and the court said there's no basis for a restraining order.
Correct.
Right. I think that there is probably a larger picture here, and that larger picture is, it's unfortunate that you're not seeing your granddaughter anymore.
I'm trying to file for grandparents' rights, Your Honor.
That's kind of a hard thing to do, because the law is very strict with regard to that now. Is there any way that you can envision having Mr. and Mrs. Davis see their granddaughter?
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it at all in the beginning until they started calling family services and cops coming out for false accusations.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. You live at home with your parents?
Yes.
Do your parents have any objection to this Davises coming over to see your granddaughter for an hour or two in their house?
I mean, if it's at my house, I don't think they would really have a problem with it.
Well, Ms. Davis, if those are the circumstances now, at least for now, that Ms. Seco is prepared to allow you to come and spend some time with your granddaughter, I would do that.
I am going to do that, Your Honor, because I love her very deeply.
They have 13 grandchildren.
Right.
You have one child. Your daughter only has 4 grandparents.
Yep.
Your son has a problem.
Yes, he does.
So, better be nice to her.
Yes.
Why don't you see while you're here if you can arrange for a time, an hour maybe on a Sunday? That would be reasonable.
Yes.
And it would certainly show me a level of maturity on your part.
Exactly, and I've always told her that she is the grandmother and nothing is ever going to change that, whether me and her son aren't talking or not, and I've always told her, even before I had my child.
So, why don't you see if this Sunday you can make some time? You live close enough, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Of Carlin versus Stepp. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Carlin, you and the defendant have been divorced for many years.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you shared custody for most of those years of your now 16-year-old daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounded as if everything was going along reasonably well. Right? Until you gave your consent while your daughter was with you to have her lip pierced.
Yes.
A decision which I gather, reading between the lines, you regret a little bit.
Slightly.
And as a result of that, Mr. Carlin, I get the sense you filed this lawsuit, which alleges that your former wife had agreed to pay for half of your daughter's karate lessons.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And she became rather expert in karate. She took karate for several years. Your former wife had not paid for half.
That's correct.
Something that I don't think bothered you too much until the lip piercing.
No, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, this whole thing didn't blow up until the lip piercing. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then something happened that, as far as I'm concerned, was tragic, but we'll get to that in a moment. So why don't you tell me when this agreement was made with your former wife?
About 3 years ago, Sarah was shopping around. She was interested in taking karate. So she looked at one school, and she looked at another one, and she liked the second one. It wasn't as expensive as the other one, and as a matter of fact, it was a little bit cheaper, but they wanted the money up front, basically over a 10-month to a year period. It came out to a little over $4,100. I talked to my wife, Teresa, and she said, we cannot afford this. I said that Sarah's mother would agree to split it with me. I picked up the phone, I called her, I laid this out to her, exactly how they wanted. I didn't expect the money right up front from her, but she said that she would split the cost of the school. 2.5 years later, 3 years later, I've yet to get a dime.
You remember having the conversation with him
No,
when your
Your
daughter
Honor.
started school?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
He says that he did discuss with you when she first started karate school, make sure you tell me the truth, that he wanted you to pay for half because he couldn't assume the entire burden of the classes. Now, are you telling me that he's lying?
Yes, I am, Your Honor. That's not true. I never saw one document from the karate school. He never approached me about paying half the money. We split tokens. He would pay tokens 1 week, I would pay tokens for school. The karate lesson money was never brought up.
Okay. Now, something happened with your daughter recently, I assume, when she came to you and said she wanted to have her lip pierced. Tell me about that conversation.
Well, for 2 years, she had wanted to get something pierced. She has about 3 holes in her ear, and I was like, no more, no more. And when she was 16, we had discussions. She asked and asked and asked, and finally I broke down.
Did you discuss it with her father?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
It really wouldn't have been a big deal.
All right, Mr. Carlin.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you saw your daughter. I must tell you, I am sympathetic with you as a parent. You see your gorgeous daughter, and she's got this ridiculous thing in her face, and you got really angry.
That's correct.
So what did you do?
Well, Sarah and I had discussions prior to this that she was getting a little tired of the shared custody arrangement. So I picked her up and saw the stud, and I couldn't believe it. I took her down the next day to the place where she had it put in, and I let them know that she was only 16. I want this thing out now. And she refused to come in. So I took her back to her mother's house, and I said, you're tired of this shared custody arrangement? I said, I can't have this, either. And that was it. She's been with her mother since July 15th.
Mr. Carlin, you're going to answer me very honestly, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think you've been a good father. I think you've been an involved father, good parent. Do you believe, Mr. Carlin, that your reaction to your daughter's piercing was appropriate?
At the time, yes.
Now, at the time, yes, because you're a human being and you have, you know, the juices started to flow. In retrospect.
No, I think I could have handled it a little bit differently, but like I said, you know, even Sarah agreed that she shouldn't have gotten this thing, and she even went down with me to the place where she got it pierced at to get it out. But when we got there, she made a stance that I'm not going to do it, Dad. And I said, well, then we just can't have this shared custody arrangement anymore.
Excuse me, Your Honor. She didn't want to go down to the piercing place. He made her go down, and when she wouldn't get it out, he dropped her off at the corner of my street and said, get out, in no uncertain terms. They had no discussion over the shared custody thing outlasting itself. The term was, get out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As long as I pay the bills, I want to be able to look at you unencumbered by things coming out of your face and your ears.
And later today,
never get in the middle of two people who are getting a divorce.
They never got along. He can't stand her.
That's very understandable.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Carlin says his ex-wife Mary Stepp agreed to pay for half of their daughter's karate lessons. Mary claims they never had such an agreement, and Joe is angry because she allowed their daughter to get her lip pierced.
A judge is not a computer. A judge is a human being, and we bring to our job all of our history, you know, all of our own personal stories. So I'm going to share one with you, all right? I have 5 kids, and they're all older now. When one of my children started college, and this was 14, 15 years ago, he came home from school after his first couple of months, and I picked him up at the bus station, which was pretty far away from our house. And he was coming home with a friend. And he got off the bus, and I looked at this handsome child, and he had something wangling from his ear. So I kissed him hello. And I said, "You can get in the car. That thing stays outside." "Oh, Mother, don't be ridiculous. You know, everybody's doing it." I said, "Listen, I don't have to look at it. I brought you into this world. I still pay the bills. As long as I pay the bills, I want to be able to look at you unencumbered by things coming out of your face and your ears." He thought I was kidding. I said, "You got 5 minutes, boy." And he hung around, he spoke to his friend, and they were trying to figure out whether I was serious or not. 5 minutes passed, the thing wasn't out of his ear. I got in my car and I went home. And about 2.5 hours later, because it took that long by public transportation, you know where this was? This was in the Bronx, where he was in the Bronx, all the way up in the Bronx, where the bus came in from Albany, Bronx, New York. He managed to find his way home without the earring in his ear. Now, that doesn't mean when he was in college, he didn't have rings and ropes and dangles and doodads hanging out from every orifice of his body. But I didn't have to look at it. So you didn't do the right thing. You know, you're supposed to be a parent first and a friend second. And a parent says, "Babe, you got a couple more years until you are 18 years old. Then I can't tell you what to do." Right? You want to paint polka dots on your face, you can paint polka dots on your face. But while you're in my house, I don't want to have to look at this thing here. I don't want to look at something in your tongue. I don't want to look at something in your nose. I just don't want to see it. You didn't do that. That really irritated him. Right, Mr. Carlin?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So the problem is this. I find it difficult, Mr. Carlin, to imagine that 3 years have gone by with you taking no action whatsoever, even to get $100, $200, and have done nothing over the 3-year period of time to recoup any money if you say that there was this verbal agreement. I have a problem with that. So I'm going to take care of the lawsuit right now. I'm not satisfied that you have established to my satisfaction that there was this contract.
Your Honor, child support is more than just a check in the mail each week. There's
Sir, if that's what you're
support.
banking on, I'm telling you, it doesn't hold water. Karate lessons don't come under the category of necessaries for anybody. So I'm not If that's what you're hanging your hat on, forget it. More importantly, Mr. Carlin, you have invested 16 years in your daughter. And I think it's a mistake to cut her off after 16 years because she, as a 16-year-old, made a foolish mistake. Big mistake, Mr. Carlin. I want you to rethink it. In any event, this lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I took care of her.
Not one phone call since July 15th. Not one phone call. Nothing.
Sarah don't know how to use a phone.
Your duty's to call her at 7 o'clock
That's
at night.
my duty.
Yeah, you're the
duty.
father. She's a child.
She's 16 years old.
Great, great.
She's 16 years old. She can make up her mind.
And now the next case.
Parties on Lehman versus Morris. Step forward, please.
22-year-old Kelly Lehman says she made a deal with her best friend April Morris to take over the payments on her truck and pay for repairs. She's suing because April's ex-husband, James, repossessed it.
It's not every case that has a moral. This case has a moral. You know what that is?
Yes.
You know what the moral is?
Don't do business with friends.
That's one, but the other one would be never get in the middle of two people who are getting a divorce. It's always a mistake, right? Ms. Lamont, according to your papers, the defendant was a friend of yours. She and her husband were divorcing. You the husband?
Yes.
And I'm sure in addition to other things, there was a truck that they wanted to sell, or that she wanted to sell. There were payments due and owing on the truck. You made an arrangement with her to take over the payments on the truck and to do substantial repairs that were on the truck.
Correct.
You paid the money for the repairs. You didn't have the truck in your possession at that time.
No, I did not.
The truck is in the shop.
Correct.
And you kept paying.
I made one payment.
In August.
In August, correct.
And according to these papers, for most of the month of August, the truck was still in the shop.
Yes.
And you're going to tell me why you did that in a minute. And then, in the divorce, according to your answer, he got possession of the truck, and he came and took it out of her driveway. Is that this case?
Well, it was parked on the street.
Or took it from the street. So you want to be paid back for all the repairs you did on the truck, for the payment that you made on the truck, and then there's something here about punitive damages, which is really nonsense.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We started getting in a fight after her boyfriend said that he was attracted to me after we had gone out one night together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Lehman says she made a deal with her best friend April Morris to take over the payments on her truck and pay for repairs. April and her ex-husband James say they repossessed the truck because Kelly made the payments late.
So let's hear about this deal.
Okay, well, April and I have been friends since the first day of high school. I needed a more dependable vehicle. She had it. I said, okay, we made this arrangement. At the time when the payment came due for the August payment, I didn't want to make it. I didn't have the truck. Why should I make it if I didn't own it?
Why do you think she should have made payment on the truck if the truck wasn't in her possession?
It was her agreement with me that she would make that first payment. And we thought that the body work that needed to be done would be done a lot sooner.
But it wasn't. Didn't it seem unfair to you that she had
It wasn't
made
my fault.
hundreds of...
It wasn't my fault that the body, she agreed to make the payment.
But didn't it seem unfair to you? This is a friend of yours. Didn't it seem unfair to you that you had this truck that needed all kinds of repairs in order to make it drivable? Because there's stuff that was needed on the clutch and the bodywork and the muffler, things that she didn't know about at the beginning.
She knew about everything, and it was her choice.
The muffler was never told that it needed a new muffler.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I was never told that the windshield was cracked. I was never told that the truck had actually been rolled and that there was more damage to it than that was apparently done to it.
The truck wasn't rolled.
Gives you another good lesson.
Right.
You don't buy a pig in a poke. If you're going to start spending money on something, you take a look at it, even if you're dealing with a friend. So you made the August payment.
Late. She made it late when she promised to make it on time.
She made it late, but at the time that she made it, she still didn't have the vehicle in her possession.
That wasn't my fault, though. But she didn't have a problem with it.
Whose fault is it? It wasn't my fault, madam. The truck was in your possession, under your control when it was damaged. Wasn't under her control when it was damaged.
She didn't have a problem with making that payment until we got in a fight over her boyfriend.
How much did you spend on this truck altogether?
Oh, I've spent a total of $1,053.38.
$1,053
and 38 cents.
38 cents. And that includes the bills that you have to show me for the repairs, as well as the 1 month's payment for August. You don't deny that she paid you this money?
I don't know what she's giving you.
Okay, show it to her.
At the time that the repairs were being done, I was told it would be a matter of days when I had given her the money, and it ended up taking like 2 weeks.
And that was not my fault. I kept mailing checks to the body shop, and they kept telling me they didn't receive them.
It's always somebody else's fault. You keep saying it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. It's not her fault. You, step up here, I have a question for you. What's your name?
James.
James, you went and took the truck off the street.
Yes.
Did you know she had made all these repair payments? Look at me, James. Don't look at the floor. Did you know she had made all the repairs?
Yeah.
Well, didn't you think it was wrong to go and take the truck?
No.
Why not?
She didn't do everything she said she was going to do.
You're talking about this September payment that you didn't make on time. You repossessed this truck from her September 12th.
By the law,
No,
you
not
have to have
September 12th.
insurance on the vehicle. She didn't have insurance on the vehicle.
Did you ever discuss it? I mean, you were friends. Is that right?
Jim was
They
not
were
even
friends.
involved.
No, just a second. If you were friends with her, that means you knew each other. You had socialized in each other's homes. Your
Past.
children played. Is that true?
Kind of.
They never got along. They never got along.
I
He
could
can't
understand
stand her.
that. That's very understandable.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, right now, she's out all this money, and you got the truck. And you were awarded the truck in the divorce, sir. Is
Yes.
that right?
That's right.
How many cars did your family have?
2.
2. You had the truck, and what kind of car did you have?
A Ford Escort.
Uh-huh. So you agreed between the two of you that you would keep the Escort and he would keep the truck. Is that correct?
But we also agreed that if she made the payments on time, as soon as our divorce was finalized, that we would sign and let her refinance the truck. But after we got in a fight, she didn't want to refinance. She said, I'm going to do what I want. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't take the vehicle from me. She refused to get insurance until it was in her name. Therefore, she's driving around a vehicle that we owe a lot of money on still. She did not make the, okay, granted, give her the first month. She did make the payment on time. If you say she didn't have the vehicle, even though she agreed and it wasn't my fault, the second month, she came up with an excuse. I don't have the money. I can't make it till it's late. She breached our agreement first. And when he took the truck, he took it on his own. I had nothing to do with it. The
Ms.
payment
Morris,
was late.
right now there is something inequitable about you having a totally fixed truck and her having nothing but the bills.
No. We offered to make her payments. They wouldn't accept it. They wanted all the money up front.
She paid all of it up front, $1,053.38. Can I have the bills, please?
She didn't.
She didn't pay, make it in payments.
I don't agree
That-
with all of this.
Miss Morris, I don't care what you agree with. There is something
You asked me.
inequitable.
You asked me.
Hey,
I'm telling you.
now I'm asking you to be quiet. You, sir, are driving around in a truck where she fixed the bodywork, she fixed the clutch, she fixed the muffler, she fixed the windshield, and you got
She
a
didn't
brick.
fix the windshield.
Fix no windshield.
Strike windshield. And you're driving around in the truck. You should have taken care of this yourself. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,053.38. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your right, please.
Judge
Number 317 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Nalepsky. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
You allege, sir, that the defendant kicked a window out of the back of your truck or car. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it cost you a couple $100 to have it fixed.
Yes, it did.
Why don't you tell me how that happened?
Well, first we started off at my friend's house, and we were going to go to the club that night.
Who's we?
Aggie, the defendant, and I, and Patty. We decided to go to the club, and she started off by drinking
Who's she?
the defendant, a Boone's Hill farm.
What is
and,
that?
I don't know, Strawberry Boone's Hill.
Wine.
It's a wine. And then after that, we got in the car, and we drove to Club X, which is in the city about 45 minutes away. And we got there, and the defendant, started drinking. She drank a cranberry and vodka when we got there. And then we went out and started dancing, Patty and I, and Aggie was there drinking. The defendant was there drinking, standing there. After that, we went back after we stopped dancing, and we came over, and Aggie said she wanted to leave. And I asked her why. And she said, I just want to leave. So I told her, you know, I was like, if I buy you another drink, you're going to stay? And so I gave her some money, and she went and bought a Hurricane.
What's a Hurricane?
It's mixed with like 5 or 6 different drinks. Like, it's mixed with gin, 151.
What's 150?
Rum. And after that, me and Patty went back to dance again, and Aggie went and sat down and started talking to this guy. And I guess she was drinking then too. She drank a beer or so. I don't know what else she drank because I wasn't there. I was out there dancing, but I saw her drink a beer. And then after that, after about 20 minutes, we stopped dancing. We came out and we seen that she was just sitting there. And so after that, we just left. We all left. We got in my car and we started.
The 3 of you?
The 3 of us got in the car. I helped her to the car, actually. And when we were driving on the freeway, she says she's hot. So me and Patty, the witness, rolled down the windows, and she was still hot. So she was trying to open the back window.
What kind of car do you have?
It's an Astro van. I have a picture of
So it has a back pole window?
It has a side window. And then she proceeds to put her feet on the window to try to open it. And I'm asking the defendant, what is she doing? And by this point, she's pressing on the window very, very hard. And I look back, and as she's doing that, pressing on the window with her feet, like bench pressing it, it breaks. And I went like this, and it was a loud sound, a very loud sound. And I'm all, Aggie, what did you do? And then after that, we drove back to Concord. And as on the way, there was glass all in the car. And I told Aggie more than, I'd say, 6 times to get out of the glass and stop playing with it, because she was playing with it with her hands. That's how intoxicated she was. And I told her to get out of the glass. And she passed out on the seat. So when we got back to Concord, she was telling me, I'm sorry. And I didn't yell, I didn't do anything, because I do that to some people, but we were best friends. So I didn't really understand why she did it, because there was no reason for her to do it.
She did it, according to you, because she was drunk.
Yeah.
So you don't have to understand what happened.
Mm-hmm.
According to what the menu of alcohol that she imbibed during the course of that evening, she didn't know whether she was in the back of your car or in the Concorde.
Mm-hmm.
So how much did this window cost you?
$206, and here's the receipt right here.
All right, Aggie, let's hear your end of it.
Well, Your Honor, just to put it blatantly, he did not see me do it. She did not see me do it. They did not hear me kick the window open. As far as I'm concerned, when the window shattered inside of the car, like he said, when you kick out a window, where does the glass go? It goes outside. There was bits of pieces
Let's start out with the Hurricane.
Sure. Not a problem.
How old are you?
21. At least I was the only one that was 21 drinking.
Yes, I didn't know.
21.
Mm-hmm.
You know how stupid women look when they get drunk?
Sure.
Do you have any idea of who are you?
I'm her mother.
Well, I'm sure your mother has told you. If she hasn't, she should have. You know, there's nothing more disgusting than a sloppy woman drunk. Sometimes I think sloppier than a man, but maybe that's just because I'm a woman. And if you're 21 years old, and you have therefore a license to drink, doesn't mean you have to make a fool of yourself. Now, you were pretty sick. I read your papers. I mean, you felt pretty uncomfortable that evening after you had had so much to drink. Why did you drink until you felt sick?
Why?
Why?
We were all drinking.
I didn't ask a... Listen, I don't care about them.
Okay.
Why did you drink?
Why did I drink?
Until you got...
I didn't get
blotto.
sick. I didn't get sick. I did not get sick. We were drinking through the whole... We started drinking earlier when we went to Patty's house. We had a shot of E&J. Then we proceeded to go to another party.
I was not at Patty's house.
And then, well, no, you weren't there, but we drove to your house. And then we went to another
You
party.
weren't
Now
even at
sit
my
here and
house.
tell me there were so many people there.
I did not feel too well at the time. That's what you wrote in your answer.
That's right. I didn't feel well, but that doesn't mean that I was to the point where I would kick out somebody's window, causing no scrapes or anything on my leg.
All right.
There was no cause for me to do that. I tried to open the window, but there was no way I could open it because this window was off track in the first place.
It was not off track. Yeah.
I had my legs propped up.
Next
to the window. Next to the window. So I could be more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I recall is glass shattering, flying inside the car. Mm-hmm. Let me see the bill. Were you there when your daughter got home?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Now step up here. Tell me your name.
Danuta.
Does your daughter come home intoxicated often?
No.
But this isn't the first time.
Not first.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You know, when you're 21 years old, you're dumb and you do things that are stupid with alcohol. I don't know why people do that when they're young.
And later today,
You seem like a nice person. How a nice person can keep tasting their own foot, I'll never understand.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Campbell claims his former friend Augie Nalepsky was highly intoxicated when she broke the window in his van and wants her to pay for it. Augie denies breaking the window.
Aggie, you're going to do what you want to do. You know, when you're 21 years old, you're dumb and you do things that are stupid with alcohol. I don't know why people do that when they're young. But I'm going to tell you this. Aside from looking terrible when you're 21 years old or when you're 20 years old or when you're 51 years old and you've had too much to drink, you were lucky this time that all you caused was a little damage to his car. I'm not going to play Sherlock Holmes. You're in that car. You're in the back of the car. You got your legs propped up against the glass. You're drunk. The window shatters. I don't need proof beyond a reasonable doubt that you're the one who caused it. All I need here is some evidence, more than not, that you caused the damage to the car. And I find that you did. So you owe him $206. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
No problem.
You got the back door to your right.
And now the next case.
Parties on Floyd versus Kleiman. Step forward, please.
Disc jockey Michael Floyd says party planner Denny Plyman stole his watch and broke their agreement for Michael to DJ at a gay disco.
Mr. Floyd, you're a DJ.
Yes, ma'am.
You do that full-time, sir?
No, ma'am.
What do you do full-time?
I'm an office manager.
But Saturday nights or Sunday, you go and operate one of those machines that you have at parties and play music.
Sometimes Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. Mr. Plyman, you, sir, are a party planner.
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, sir, you are suing the defendant for breach of contract. You say that you had a contract to perform your services as a DJ for him, and he canceled that contract. So tell me about it.
Yes, ma'am. We had an agreement to do, I was the head DJ. There would be one other DJ.
Incorrect.
Mr. Plyman, let's understand the ground rules.
Okay.
He talks, then you talk.
All right.
Then I decide. Go.
I was the head DJ. That's what we had decided. We had sat down while he was planning this event. It was called Detour at this other club, and there was another DJ who would DJ on the one Sunday a month that I would not make it. And we had
That's incorrect. He only DJ'd the first 4 out of 12 detours, so he wasn't DJing 3 out of 4 weeks.
Mr. Plyman, what word didn't you understand that I said before?
All right.
He talks, then you talk, then I decide. So don't interrupt again.
All right.
Good. How many, what's the word, gig?
Gig. That would be good.
That would be good?
Word. Yeah. We're in agreement.
My children would be proud of me.
We're in agreement there.
How many gigs do you claim you contracted for with the defendant?
May I look? I have a list of them. I don't know them off. There were so many. It was over like a 5-month period.
Well, you're not suing for the whole 5 months.
I'm suing for the ones that were canceled.
How many did you actually perform?
I think it was about a month or 2.
4.
He has a problem. He really doesn't understand. I'm not going to penalize him because there must be a screw loose or something.
I agree.
Well, I've got the exact figure. It's 4. It's a very simple question.
You'll tell me that in a minute, but right now, you see, I was focused on him, Mr. Plyman. Mr. Floyd, do you have a written contract with him?
No, ma'am, we don't.
Well, if you were going to have an employment contract that went beyond, say, a month or 2, it would seem to me that if you are in this business as a profession, even if it's a part-time profession, that you have something in writing. Wouldn't that sound right to you?
Yes, ma'am. Normally I do.
Yes.
But Denny was my best friend, and I was helping him get a business started.
Right.
And I didn't feel that I needed that, but I do have from my date book that he and I sat down and booked these dates.
Yes.
So that's the only actual evidence that I have, and I'm just hoping that he will feel the need to tell the truth.
Well, when you sat down and booked the events with him, what kind of parties were these, by the way, that you were booking?
They're tea dances, which is a dance on Sunday afternoon. It's disco music. We do it at a country western bar, but once a week we do a regular disco fun music, not country music.
And it's called a tea dance?
It's called a tea dance. It's on Sunday afternoons. It
No
starts
booze?
at 5 o'clock. No, yeah, there's plenty of booze.
Oh, so why do they call it a tea dance?
That's the name for the booze.
I can tell you why.
Yes.
It goes back a long time. About 20 years ago, people used to get together on a Sunday, and they would dish other people or tell the tea, gossip, and that's where it
that
goes.
I understand.
Right.
That's where.
Okay.
After they've been to the beach all day, or who was with whoever the night before, and things along that line.
So that's where the name the tea dance came from, and it escalated into where they'd have a DJ and there'd be dancing and people would have be having fun.
Sounds like fun.
It is.
Now, you were running these things, so you were like a promoter.
That's correct. It's my production.
And I assume that you will agree, Mr. Plyman, that at the beginning, when you set up this process, you did in fact sit down with Mr. Floyd. You were good friends.
We were.
And say, we're going to do these for 6 months.
That's right.
And these are the Sundays. Is that right?
That's correct. And it's one thing that's important to show is he's been paid for every service that he has performed.
I don't think that he's questioning that.
Okay.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You were paid each time that you went.
Exactly.
How much were you paid, by the way?
Sometimes it was $200, sometimes $230, sometimes $220.
Well, actually, that's the only thing we do have an agreement on. We sat down and did make a written agreement on that, and what we paid him was $235, and I've got a copy of that.
Can I see that, please?
What that included was his services, and then I paid for him to take the Amtrak down to San Diego and back, and then I either paid for his lodging or he stayed at my home.
Now, is this a writing that you entered into? Just take a look at it.
That would be our agreement that we based on what we said. One of the other things that's important is he said in his opening that he was the head DJ. That's in his mind.
Would you look at that, sir? I asked you a question. Mr. Plyman doesn't know where he is. I'm going to remind him of that in a minute.
No, ma'am. This is not.
Michael,
Just
this
a
was
second.
made up
Mr.
afterwards,
Plyman,
obviously.
you never saw that before?
No.
That's a lie. We agreed to that.
Well,
that was
just
your
a second.
payment.
Mr. Plyman, if you talk to him again, sir, I'm going to end this lawsuit. And so far you're winning, but you're coming so close to losing because you don't know when to shut up, that it's really very sad because a trial is supposed to be a search for the truth. When a litigant who seems to be winning keeps shooting himself in the foot and yet appears to be an intelligent man, I don't understand that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Mr. Plyman, I'm going to give you some really good advice, sir. When you try to take over Judge's playpen, you're always going to lose.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
DJ Michael Floyd says party planner Denny Plyman broke their agreement for Michael to DJ at a gay disco. Denny claims he had every right to fire Michael and owes him nothing.
Mr. Plyman, one of the problems with this, sir, is I'm going to tell you what that is. I'm not going to consider it. He says he's never seen it before. And if, in fact, this was your agreement and you're a businessman, what you should have done was you sign it and have him sign it.
I understand that.
But, Mr. Floyd, Do you have any proof of any engagements that you actually turned down at or about the time that your agreement, not contract, but agreement with the defendant was terminated?
Do I have any proof?
Yes.
Not with me, Your Honor. I had turned down San Diego Gay Pride because he told me that I was going to work for him for 2 events that he was doing. He was doing 4, I think, and I was going to do 2 of them.
I had offered, when we first had our disagreement, he brought up the idea that, you know, as somewhat of a severance pay, that I pay him $200 to afford him like 2 weeks down the road. He had a date. And me being a new businessman, a small businessman, I thought, you know what, I really want to do the right thing here. So I thought about it a couple days, and then I called him back, and I said, you know, I would be happy to send you that $200, but I asked one thing. I said, I'm going to need you to sign an agreement. I finally clicked in and understood that I probably should have an agreement at this point in time, that this will be the end of our, I put the payment of $200 in 2 $200 increments will be paid by May 31st, and is provided as a goodwill gesture by Denny Plyman, owner of Focus Events. This payment will finalize our working relationship and any monies due of this date. And it's at that point that he got all pissed off, like I didn't trust him because I felt like he would take me to court or something, and he wouldn't sign that. Now, he never saw this, but I read it to him over the phone because I was going to send it to him, have him sign it, and send it back to me, and then I would have sent him the money.
That's also not entirely true, Your Honor.
Well, not entirely true, but did you call and discuss with him some sort of solution to this problem?
I attempted, he never did. I attempted on several occasions to call him. At that point,
how you could say I didn't attempt to make a solution is incredible. I have it written right here.
That's not proof. That could have been written at any time.
Mr. Floyd, he did in fact offer you a couple of $100 to resolve this issue.
Yes,
and
at
he
his
did
suggestion.
And he did. You seem like a nice person. How a nice person can keep tasting their own foot, I'll never understand. I'll never understand.
This is an indication of our relationship through the whole time. It was
Mr.
anytime
Floyd,
I tried to
then
put something
then
in.
that's your problem, sir. I mean, you know, you chose to work for him.
I'm one of the top DJs in Southern California.
How could you be a top DJ in Southern California, Mr. Floyd?
I'm sorry?
In his own mind, Your Honor.
Oh, Mr. Plyman, I tried to be very nice to you, sir. The truth of the matter is, you're your own worst enemy.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
He's suing you for $2,500? Is that what you're suing him for?
Yes, ma'am.
$2,500? I was originally going to give you nothing. He helped me. I'm going to give you $1,000. That takes care of 5 weeks' worth of work.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you understand? That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy will continue.
Judge, this is number 339 on the calendar in the matter of Ayala versus Howard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Your complaint alleges, sir, that the defendant dented your car when she sat on it.
Yes, that's true.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Okay, it all took place at the Velocity Car Show, which is held, I believe, in the area of Redondo Beach. The defendant had asked me earlier that day that she wanted to do a couple photo shots on my car.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a 97 Volkswagen GTI.
Is that a special kind of car?
What's in that car in particular is there's only 500 United States that were brought over from Germany.
So you were showing the car at this automobile show?
Right. I invested at least $5,000 prior to that date into that car.
What do you mean you invested?
As far as money for rims and exhaust systems to modify the car.
So you have this very special car. You're showing it at an auto show, and what were you doing there?
I was asked to go there and do some modeling.
Who asked you?
The president from the actual car club called Borsic.
And how did you two get together?
Well, I had a friendly relationship with her prior to this, and the day of the show, she approached me when she arrived and asking me if she could use my car to pose for a photographer that was coming for her own personal use. And I asked her, what kind of posing are you going to do? And she said, well, I have this pose that I sit on top of the hood, and I
That's not true.
Just a second, I'm going to get to you. You have this, she said to you.
There's a pose where she gets on top of the hood, and she takes a picture, and it's a real nice shot. And I said, well, have you ever done this before? And she said, yes, I did. I've done it before. Nothing happened. It's a great shot. So she reassured me by doing that, and I was easily convinced to letting her do that.
Okay. According to you, you agreed to let her sit on the hood of your car. And you sat there of the car and took a picture.
Right, but the photographer asked him repeatedly about 3 or 4 times if it was okay.
Of the car and took a picture.
Right, but the photographer asked him repeatedly about 3 or 4 times if it was okay. And he agreed to everything, as far as if we were going to actually sit on the car or model around it or whatever we were going to do.
How did you sit on the hood of the car?
They asked us to actually just sit sideways, kind of facing each other with our feet dangling down on the side of the car, and he took a few
But you were
shots
the
of
only
that.
one who sat on
No, there was another model.
That sat on his car? Was there another model that sat on your
Yes,
car?
there was. Her name is Kalan. She sat the opposite side of the car, at the same position, same area, just on the opposite side of the hood.
Okay. So what happened after the pictures were taken?
I didn't notice the dent until I got home when I was just waxing down the car. And as I was waxing the hood, I noticed that there was a dent in the hood. Well, I felt that it wasn't my responsibility to take care of that, so I called her the very next day, letting her know.
3 days later, not the next day.
Listen.
Sorry.
Next day, letting her know.
3 days later, not the next day.
Listen.
Sorry.
I hate this thing. Don't interrupt him.
Sorry.
I mean, I could be mistaken, but it was the week after the show. And what happened, I let her know that the fact that she sat in the car, the dent was put into the car. And I just let her know that I didn't feel fair that I had to pay for those damages since it was for her cause and she was the one that actually implied the dent into my hood. She was very humble and actually very generous, saying that she would pay for all damages and you know, embarrassed a bit. But I mean, it was basically a verbal agreement where we both agreed on a date.
Do you have some pictures of this car, sir? That's why I understand that this monitor is in here. You have some pictures that you want to show me?
Oh, yes, I do have some pictures that I need to show you.
That's the car. Where's the damage?
There's a damage. If you see where the light hits, it actually dims down. If I can approach it, I'll show you.
I see it now. Is that the side you were sitting on?
Yeah, it was.
A day or so later, is that right?
Yes, you're right.
How come you have such an expensive car and you didn't know? A day or so later, is that right?
Yes, you're right.
How come you have such an expensive car and you didn't notice this terrible dent in the car until a day or so later, sir?
No, actually, I noticed it the same day, but I called her a day or so later.
First of all, how much do you say it's going to cost you to fix it, sir?
Well, I have an estimate here from the dealer service area that I deal with. They appraised the damage. That's the amount that I'm suing for.
$561?
Yes.
All right. And what's your position?
Well, first of all, when we were taking the shots, he stood there and watched the whole shoot and said nothing. He was even suggesting different poses. Basically, to make a long story short, afterwards, I saw him polishing off the car. He did not approach me with any concern about damages. I actually went over there off the car. He did not approach me with any concern about damages. I actually went over there and looked at the car. There wasn't any damages. And it wasn't until actually 3 days later that he called me and told me that there were damages on there. If they had asked him if it was okay, and all of a sudden he's coming back to me 3 days later saying that I made these damages, it would be his responsibility only because the photographer had asked him over and over it was okay if we were to get on the car.
Oh, you asked him. You asked him. That was enough.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right.
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
And later today,
It's obvious to me that when you move out, you move out. You take your clothes, you take your shoes, you take your hats, and you take your doggone cars too.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Carlos Ayala says when car model Monique Howard sat on the hood of his sports car to pose for a photo, she left a dent. Monique says she's not responsible because she had Carlos's permission to sit on the car.
Mr. Ayala.
Yes.
You think that she should be responsible for all these damages
Do
to
I
your
feel
car?
that I should be
That
responsible?
she should be.
Yes, I do.
Well, you're wrong. You want to know why, sir?
Yes, I do.
If she had sat on your car without your permission, she would be totally responsible for the damage to your car.
Right.
You are supposed to be an intelligent man. If somebody asked me if they could sit on the hood of my car, and if I said sure, and if they damaged the hood of my car, whose fault would that be?
Well, considering if I make a statement,
Yeah.
there's 2 models that sat on the car. First of all, the other model did not dent the car, which was
maybe she was thinner.
Which was what she asked me
Just
for.
a second. Maybe she was thinner.
Actually, she was very much thinner.
Well, then, sir.
Right, but
look,
I'm not.
you use your eyes.
Right.
You look at one model who's thinner. If my 2-month-old grandchild was on the hood of my car, and if my 9-year-old grandson Casey sat on the hood of my car and I said it was okay, and if Casey damages the hood of my car, that's my fault because he's 9 years old and weighs more than a 2-month-old baby. So if you look at these two women and she's a little heftier, and you tell her it's okay to sit on the hood of your car because you wanted your car in some sort of a magazine, why should she pay for it?
That's an incorrect statement. I didn't ask her to take the shot for my purpose.
Doesn't make any difference. She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right. Well,
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
Well, considering that I'm not a weight trainer and I'm not an expert in that field, I wouldn't be able to make a professional...
I want to tell you something. I'm not a weight trainer, and I'm not
Exactly.
an expert in that
Well,
field,
then
and
you
I
have-
wouldn't let anybody sit on my car. You think that if this guy said to me, Judge, I want to take a picture on the hood of your car.
Right.
Could I take a picture on the hood of your car? And he sat on the hood of my car, and the hood went to the pavement. that I would say, it's his fault? No, sir. It's my fault, because I was the idiot.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying to you? This lady, looking exactly like she did, said, I want to sit on the hood of your brand new, expensive, rimmed car from... And then she sat on your car, and according to you, she dented it, and you think that that's her fault.
Not entirely.
Dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Jackson versus Mitchell. Step forward.
31-year-old student Adam Jackson.
Jackson versus Mitchell. Step forward.
31-year-old student Adam Jackson is suing his former roommate Lorraine Mitchell because she refuses to return his 1985 El Camino.
All right, I don't think this is very complicated. Mr. Jackson, you and Miss Mitchell were friends, and for a while you lived in her house.
Yes,
You lived in her house along with other properties, an old car,
correct.
and then you moved out of her house.
Yes.
And you left your...
Vehicle on a property.
What kind of car was it?
It's an 85 Chevy El Camino
And where on the property did you leave the car?
in her backyard.
Were there any other cars in the backyard?
No,
Just yours.
just mine.
And how long did you leave it there?
I would say from April 97 through November, and it's still there. November this year.
And you want your car back?
Yes.
And you say...
And I say, Mr. Jackson, you're more than welcome to have your car back, but I want to be paid $18.50 for storage per day.
Why?
I checked with several storage companies because if he had had his automobile parked in a garage towing service, he would have paid $18.50. And on top
Why
of
did
that,
you let him leave the car there to begin with?
why did I let him leave the car?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any other place to take it. Judge, I called Mr. Jackson on several occasions, over and over and over, repeatedly over, asking him, please come and pick up your car. I asked him over 5 or 6 times. I have the dates written down, and he will testify to that, I'm sure.
But Miss Mitchell, you had no agreement with him that he was going to pay you to store the car. He didn't do the right thing and get the car out of there fast enough. Why?
Well, at the time I was going to school, I tried. I tried when I told her I was going to come by to pick up the car. So when I finally sold my car, I told her I was going to come by to pick up the car. So when I finally sold my car, I had the guy who I sold the car to go by her house to pick it up, and that's when I found out that I was going to have a hard time picking up the car.
Yeah, and when was that? When did you sell your car?
November 7th.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden somebody showed up at your property to look at the car? Is that what happened?
Well, first of all, a young lady called me over the phone, and she says, hello, I'm Stella. I'm going to be coming over to look at Adam's car. I'm like, huh? Okay. And then the next thing I know, at 8:30 at night, there's a gentleman knocking at my door. I mean, and it's pitch black dark where I live at. And I'm saying, who is this at my door? I'm recovering from a nervous breakdown. He knows I'm ill. Judge Judy, he hasn't even called me to give me the decency to say, Lorraine, someone is going to come over and be looking at the car.
How old are you?
31.
Miss Mitchell, you said it.
Here.
How old are you?
31.
Miss Mitchell, you said it.
Here.
How old are you?
31.
Miss Mitchell, you said it. He's an irresponsible child.
That's right.
No question about that.
And this is what this is all about. To teach a irresponsible child on somebody's property for 6 months and come back and all of a sudden it's yours. You have on somebody's property for 6 months and come back and all of a sudden it's yours. You have interrupted my business, Adam. You know I have my pallet business back there. I haven't.
Don't talk to him, talk to me.
Judge, I have a pallet business there in the back where I store expensive pallets are back there. We can't put the fence back in place because once I put the fence in, he has to tear the fence down to get his car out. How many times do I have to call him? Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car. I don't feel I have to call him that many times.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You rip and run to Vegas every other weekend with these young flukes.
Will continue in a moment.
Matter of Sanchez versus Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, each of you claim that the other owes you money. Just about the same amount of money, $2,600 change. Ms. Sanchez, you claim that this gentleman was living with you. He left owing you money for a variety of things, which you'll tell me about. You say you made a loan to her for lawyer, $1,500 for something. You'll tell me about that. So why don't you start from the beginning? How come the two of you were living together?
Sean said he had no place to go. And when we first moved together, he was getting kicked out of his apartment. I was leaving my apartment.
Had you been friends?
Yeah, we had been friends. We had met at work. And at the time, we were staying in a hotel, and it was like you pay every week. Then we found an apartment through one of his friends at work. He got the apartment in his name, okay? And then later I had got it put in my name. I have a rental agreement. And I was giving Sean the money because he knew the landlord. I had no idea, and I work at night. And so I would give Sean money every week to pay rent. Sean didn't pay rent. I have an agreement that we both signed saying that we're both 4 months in the hole in rent. And I'm like, you know, how in the world can this be? I give you money every week, you know?
What you're telling me is you gave him your share of the rent.
Every week.
How much was the rent?
$250.
$250 a month?
Each.
Yes, each. It's $500 a month.
Okay. So you gave him your $250?
Yes.
And he never paid the rent?
No. I have a piece of paper saying right here that we're both, and he signed it. We both signed it, saying that we're 4 months in the rent, 4 months behind in the rent to this day.
Didn't I pay her 70?
I don't know. Do you have a receipt?
Shh, don't talk to each other. Don't talk to each other. Okay. You both signed that you're both responsible for half the rent. Did you pay the rent, sir?
When I moved out, I paid $750.
I'm talking about while you were living there with her.
We were together for a whole year and a half.
Shh. How long were you living in the apartment together?
About a year and a half, 2 years.
And did you pay the rent?
Yes.
All that time?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He's lying.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes, ma'am.
You have rent receipts?
She had them all.
Did you ultimately pay all the rent?
Not yet. I am still in the hole because of Sean.
How did that come about? That you're in the hole?
Okay, Sean was unemployed. First, Sean moved out, okay, because me and Sean and my boyfriend were living together, right? And everything was fine, but we still owed her $2,000.
The three of you were living in the apartment?
Yes.
And the rent was $500?
Yes.
So
but my boyfriend didn't really live there. He wasn't responsible for any of the rent. That was my responsibility. He didn't hardly have any clothes there, okay? He was just,
you just told
there.
Me the three of you were living
in
there.
a two-bedroom apartment. In a two-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
He had his own room. I had my own room. He had his company. I had my company. So my boyfriend didn't really live there. He had all his clothes someplace else. My boyfriend did. Sean was fired from his job. Came crying to me that he didn't have any place to go. Okay, no place to go. He couldn't go live with his brother. They're having problems. He can go live with his father. They're having problems.
So what you're saying to me, madam...
So I let him move back in. I let him move back in on the agreement that he helped me with households.
In May of 1997, sir, you signed an agreement that you owed her a total of, well, this would be $1,000, right? Because it says that total owing was $2,000. And Henry and Sanchez are responsible for 50% of the total, and you signed this, correct? So you acknowledged in May that you owed her $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? Did you
Yes.
pay her?
I paid the landlord $750.
No. I'm not saying what you paid the landlord. I'm saying what you paid her.
Why would I owe her?
Because I gave you the money every day to pay the rent, and you didn't, stupid.
Now, you want me to dismiss your lawsuit?
No.
This is $2,000. Each of you owe half of that. So that's $1,000. Did you pay it or did you not pay it?
I paid $750. I guess I still owe the landlord $250.
When did you pay the landlord $750?
July?
When did you move out?
July?
No.
Shh. Show me the receipt.
I don't have that.
That makes this easy. So that's $1,000. What else does he owe you for?
He bought, through his work, I got a VCR because he could get it cheaper from Dow Stereo.
How much did you pay for it?
$160.
Okay.
That's all the money that I gave him for the VCR.
How much did you pay for the VCR?
Got a receipt right here.
Okay.
$213.
$213, and you gave him $160. Where's the receipt?
I didn't ask Sean for receipts.
Okay. Did she give you $160 for the VCR?
Every
No.
day I get.
You wanted a video camera.
Listen to me.
But you didn't.
I will teach. Hello friends, how are you all? In this video I will teach you how you can design different products. How you can design different products. I will teach you how you can design different products, different objects, such as posters, brochures, and many things. You can design in any way, and you can make huge money by designing those posters. So you can use Canva platform. This is very easy to use. Everyone can use it. It is beginner friendly, so you can use it for making designs for your projects. You can make an account on Fiverr.com or Upwork.com. These are best platforms to make money online. So you can go there and create your account about graphic designing, and you can make design from this platform. This is very, very easy to use. Whenever you would like to make a design, then you click here, create a design. Then you can see different types of designs categories, whichever you would like, whichever you want to design. You can choose any, such as documents. If you want to make a CV or want to make a document, then you can choose this one. This is whiteboard animation, and this is logo. If you want to make a logo for your brand, you can use it. You can make or edit videos by using this. Here you can create examples. Here you can create stories. Here you can create presentations. Here you can create Instagram stories. Here is a special one for resumes only, so you can use it as well. Okay. Goodbye. I think you have learned so much, so it is enough for learning. Don't learn too much because it can't be healthy. Okay, so if you want to create custom design, then you can also click here. As I just scroll down it, you can see many other types of design you can create. If you want to create design for your Facebook cover, then you can choose this one. For making flyers, you can use this one. For making small posts, you can use this one, and you can so on. If you want to create custom design, custom size, such as of this size or of this size, or from this side or of this side, whatever you want, you can choose custom design. Okay, good luck.